Welcome back. It's still nice to have your company wherever you're watching us run around Australia. Now, a very special moment for AJ, because even though it was a new factory, it's probably your most favourite place in England, which is the Williams factory.
So I've been accused by several people. Yeah, I mean, the new factory, it's the first time I've seen it. And when we were driving down the road and came across it for the first time, I just couldn't believe it was the Williams factory. I thought it was you know, some huge manufacturing assembly plant or something. It was just, I couldn't believe the size of it.
Let's take you right over there now for the first time in Australia, in one of the rare tours with a camera anywhere in the world. We'll take you and have a look through the Williams Museum. Well, it's taken us a while, AJ, but here we are, Williams, the new factory.
Unbelievable. Look at it. I mean, just typical Frank too. The detail of everything is just immaculate.
Yeah. Look at this. Lawns, gardens and racing cars. Our sort of place.
Can't be bad, Dad.
Wow. Look at the floor. It's amazing. Beautiful.
All Italian ceramics.
Have a look at this, though. Well, there it is. Isn't that impressive in the foyer? Looks fantastic.
I'd love it in the lounge room or something.
This is a big place, AJ. I mean, what would it cost to run something like this?
Well, there's about 250 people. It costs about $100 million a year to operate. That's obviously not operating just the building, it's the racing of the two cars. But if you think about it, they build 6 chassis a year, operating 2 consistently or 3 in the European races, a test team, but the people to build them and develop them and all of it, about $100 million a year.
End result, of course, 6 World Championships, 8 Constructors' Championships. Look at this, trophies. This one here, that's the Australian Championship trophy. And I tell you what, a lot of people wouldn't have seen it that close. Isn't it beautiful?
It's fabulous. And Jane was saying before, of all the trophies, that I know this sounds very biased, but she was saying that that's the one that actually gets the most attention. And it is. It's a fabulous looking trophy.
There's the old steering wheel, Southern Cross, the diamond on it. Come on, mate, I can't wait. Let's have a look around.
All right, come on, I'll show you the museum. Wow, look at this.
This will be a trip down memory lane for you, AJ.
Absolutely, look at that, gee.
And down there, look at that. There's the white number 27.
Yep, that's FW06, which was the first Williams. And that was the car that actually got me to drive for Williams. Frank rang me up and said, come up, I want to meet you. I met him on the motorway. We came up here to the factory. Well, not this factory, it was about quarter the size. And that was the very first Williams. And it was after talking to Patrick Head for a couple of hours that I thought, right, well, this is the crew that I want to get involved with. And this was the first one.
Well, you talk about this car with really fond memories, don't you? You really like this car.
Well, I do. It was the last of the conventional Formula One cars. The ground effects cars had already come in, the Lotus 78. This didn't have any skirts like FW07, but it was a fantastic little car. It was really good fun to drive. It was very quick in a straight line. We had some really good races at places like Hockenheim and what have you. Should have won Long Beach. I had the front nose cone collapse, and I was still having a real good old dice with Reutemann and the Ferrari, but then electrical problems finally got me, and we finished about 6th, but we were really up there dicing for the lead.
They look tiny by today's standards, but look at the detail work. That's still your oxygen line, isn't it?
Yeah, well, when you sat in the car, this plugged into the side of your helmet, and that had medical air, not oxygen, because oxygen obviously burns. So they had a medical air bottle, so in the case of a fire, that was forcing air into your helmet, which helped you breathe. But, I mean, you know, we thought that was all pretty sophisticated stuff, but of course, as we go through the museum and have a look at the other cars, it sort of pales into insignificance a bit.
Let's move on a bit.
Okay, well, this is FW07, which was the very first ground effects car that Williams ever had. It was quite state-of-the-art in its day. It had the sliding skirts and so forth, and we had some very good results in this car in 1979. But when we move on to FW07B, by the way, this is a monocoque. This is something that you hear us referring to all the time. This is an aluminium one. Of course, today they're carbon fibre. But this is what is the monocoque. The driver sits in here, the fuel goes in there, the roll bar, and everything else just gets bolted onto this monocoque. All the suspension, the engine goes on the back. So as long as the driver is strapped in here and stays in here, particularly in this day and age with carbon fibre, this is his little cocoon, this is his little safety area.
Now, this car here, really, really interesting, but you know how many times we've talked about the number 27? It's a number that's associated with Gilles Villeneuve, and yet you had a lot of success with this number.
Well, yeah, I mean, I won the World Championship in this car with this number. And it was because we won the World Championship, then we went to number 1 and 2. Well, Williams went to 1 and 2, and 27 then went on to Ferrari. and they've basically had it ever since. But this was a true ground effects car. It was a continuation of the 07. You can see here the sliding skirts, which literally are sprung, and the idea of that was to keep them on the ground at all times with a ceramic base. The idea being is that the air would come through here, go through an inverted wing, virtually an aircraft upside down, and then these skirts would make sure that the air was not escaping out from the side. It was being channeled all the way down through here and then escaping out the back of the car. So it would literally suck the car onto the ground the quicker that you went. So the cornering speeds of these cars were unbelievable, and the commitment into the corner was quite good because you could go very deep into the corner, turn, and the car would carry its speed through because of this ground effects. But the thing you had to really watch, if you ever went over a curb or you damaged one of your skirts or you broke a couple of springs and that skirt stuck up for whatever reason,
You're in big trouble.
You'd lose 15 or 20% of your downforce. You'd enter the corner at the same time, same speed as the lap before. Bang, you were off.
What about we try and get in it?
Oh dear. All right, I'll give it a go, but I tell you what, I'm a bit broader. There's been a few pints passed through this little body since, since I've been in here.
I've got a lottery ticket, you'll get in just.
Oh, I'll get in, come what may, but...
For a lottery ticket, you will. There you are, easy. Look at this. Wow, well done. How's that feel?
It's a little tight. A little tight around the bum. But I'd go on a diet if I had to.
Great memories?
Yeah, fantastic, yeah.
This your favourite car?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is the car that I won the World Championship in, so, you know, to say otherwise would be lying.
Well, now we're going to see something totally different, and I reckon a car that's going to surprise a lot of people. You know, I always associate a six-wheel car with a Tyrrell.
Yeah, well, of course, the Tyrrell had its four wheels at the front.
Yeah,
this has got them at the back, but it's all about drag because the rear wheels of a modern Formula One car are huge. So Patrick thought, A, he'd get more rubber on the ground, but he would decrease the frontal area, and therefore he basically had four narrower rear tyres rather than two big fat ones. But
did you ever drive this?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I won the Las Vegas Grand Prix at the end of '81, and Frank said I wanted to go straight back home. He said, no, come on over to England, I want you to test the six-wheeler at Donington, thinking that, you know, once I drove the six-wheeler, I'd be thinking, yeah, well, this is a bit of me. And I tested it at Donington, and it didn't really feel any different. It was quicker down the straight. It subsequently went on to be developed a little bit more into this style of car, and they took it down to Paul Ricard to continue the testing. It was obviously looking like it was going to be fairly successful because they quickly banned it.
Isn't that the story of progression?
Absolutely.
Hey, Joe, have I had too many pints, or we're not the only foreigners here in this factory? Because that looks very much like a Ferrari to me.
Yeah, it's very much the cat amongst the pigeons, isn't it? It's quite an intriguing story about this car. Even though it's got Alain Prost's name on it, Jean Alesi actually signed a contract to drive for Frank. Then, subsequently, was offered a drive by Ferrari. So he went to Frank and said, look, Frank, you know, in my heart, I really want to go with Ferrari. This is my breeding, blah, blah, blah. So Frank's eventually said, yeah, okay, look, no problems. You can go and drive a Ferrari, but I want a Ferrari at the end of the year. So good to his word, at the end of that season, he delivered this over to Frank.
Stands out a bit, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Not a bad-looking thing to have hanging around, though, is it?
You got that right. Well, Jonesy, here's another unusual car. This is a rally car.
It is. It was commissioned by British Leyland to Patrick Head to do a rally car, and whilst not the prettiest thing on the road, once again, like a lot of Patrick's design, it was that successful that they banned it.
Yeah, he certainly built some weapons.
Not pretty.
Well, AJ, the last of the turbo-powered cars. Wow, what an era.
It certainly was. 1.5 litres turbo in qualifying trim, about 1,100 brake horsepower. Just absolutely awesome to see during qualifying. You'd see these cars wheel spinning in third and fourth gear. Quite incredible.
You notice too, no airbox. I mean, it's just such a clean line.
Well, and that also helped the rear wing work that much better because you didn't have as much bodywork to upset the air onto the rear wing. But of course, this was the last year for Williams and Honda and turbo. The following year, you could run normally aspirated or turbo, but if you did run turbo, you had to run 40 kilos heavier. You didn't have as much fuel to play with as the previous year. And so they decided that they would go normally aspirated. Judd supplied the engines. It wasn't a terribly successful year for them because the turbos still proved to be superior, even with the restrictions that they had. But the Judd got them through that year, and then, of course, the year after, they went to Renault.
Yeah, and straight away we go back normally aspirated, we've got an airbox.
Absolutely, feeding that engine.
Well, Jonesy, this story, I mean, it continues right around the factory. I mean, there's so many cars, so many things to say, but there it is. I mean, it ends right there with a car that won the championship last year.
Absolutely, the FW18. So it starts at the very beginning and goes in an anti-clockwise all the way around the hall, ends up back here with the championship-winning car. But what's fascinating for me, Daz, is to see the subtleties of change during the courses of the years, just the little aerodynamic changes, and it's just fascinating.
Well, this car, of course, Damon Hill won the championship in. It looks so much bigger than the first car that you drove.
Well, the wheelbase, they seem to be a lot longer in the wheelbase, and they just seem to be a much bigger car. Obviously a lot narrower at the front and a lot higher, but yeah, amazing.
Amazing is an understatement. The museum is home to a priceless collection of engineering achievement. A collection forged by the most successful constructor in Formula One history, Williams.
Yeah, amazing place. I mean, and for you folks at home, I mean, that's only part of that story. There are so many cars there, plus all the drivers' helmets are encased. We could only show you so much.
Yeah, and what was a big surprise, not long after that we went down to the touring car factory, which is down at Didcot, some 20-odd miles away where the original Williams factory used to be. And we were wandering around the back, and I walked into a room with you, and there was something like another 14 Formula Ones there all undercover waiting to find a home.
I think you're supposed to say something about those.
Oh, really?
Jane Gorard, part of the media PR department from Williams. We'd like to thank Jane in England because she set up the interviews we had with Patrick, the interviews we had with Frank Williams, the day we spent there in the museum, the whole thing, going down to see the touring cars. Jane, thank you very much, because you're going to be seeing this in England. I mean, it was just fantastic. I mean, they couldn't have been any more helpful for us.
Oh, no, I mean, it's, to me, to be able to go back and see the way that Williams have evolved from the original factory to where we've just been was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and of course, we mentioned there are eight Constructors' Championships, well, that's 9 now, and we said it finished with that car, which was Damon Hill's car sitting there. Well, now that'll finish with Jacques Villeneuve's car. So all of that story's been added to in the last few weeks, in fact, the last few hours.
Well, as I said to Frank when I was there, I mean, you really are going to have to build a bigger museum because he's running out of room already.
No doubt. All right, well, it's been a fantastic season, there's no doubt about it. One of the best we've seen for a long, long time. Now, don't forget the Australian Formula One Grand Prix from Melbourne. That's on March the 7th and 8th. That's in 1998, of course. And we've got some brand new motorsport coming your way. This is from ISC's World of Motorsport. It's every Saturday morning commencing on November the 8th. Check your local guides. It should be around 5 a.m. in the morning. Now, the idea of this, you'll see some truck racing. You're going to see Formula 3000. There'll be a lot of rally driving as well with part of the World Championship. So all in all, it's a pretty good program, and you're going to see a lot of motorsport there. So keep your eye on your programs right around Australia and have a look at that.
You'll be able to come in and watch that after you run.
No doubt about it. I'll be there, and I'll be fit too. Great season, hasn't it been? A great night, great way to finish it, and I think just the fact that we've been able to personalise the season with Williams and Ferrari, and all the things we've been able to do has been great.
Well, I think it's shaping up to be good for next year as well, because Ferrari certainly haven't finished. They're going to get stronger. Williams are going to try and keep the mantle in its place. McLaren are coming on leaps and bounds. We've got new drivers in different teams. I'm really looking forward to it.
All right, safe trip home to everybody. We'll see you next time round on Nine's Wide World of Sport.